Aspiring content creators chase viral fame through increasingly dangerous stunts, never imagining that their pursuit of internet stardom could become their final performance. In this video, we're examining 6 disturbing cases of YouTubers who died while filming. Each happened during challenges so reckless, you'll question what people will risk for views and subscribers. It was August 19, 2017, at an underground boxing gym in Detroit, Michigan. The afternoon heat made the poorly ventilated space stifling inside the converted warehouse. Marcus Rodriguez, 23, was a fitness YouTuber from Phoenix who posted workout videos and street fight breakdowns. After his girlfriend left him, he worked part-time at a supplement store while desperately seeking viral content. His channel had stagnated for months, with videos averaging fewer than 200 views. Following harsh comments questioning his toughness and calling him a fake fighter, Marcus contacted local pro boxer Danny Williams, offering $500 for a filmed sparring session. The boxer had recently lost his last 3 fights and was struggling financially, making the offer tempting despite his reservations. The gym owner initially refused the request, citing insurance concerns and safety protocols about amateur-professional matchups. But after brief discussion and reassurances about limited contact, he allowed the session to proceed. Marcus's filming partner, who had worked with him for 6 months, expressed serious reservations about the plan and suggested alternative content ideas. Even Williams, despite needing the money, questioned whether an untrained YouTuber should face someone with a 12-3 professional record. Marcus dismissed all warnings, believing his 8 months of casual training at a Phoenix gym were sufficient preparation. He had watched countless boxing tutorials online and convinced himself that technique could overcome experience. That afternoon, Marcus arrived with cheap camera equipment and borrowed gear that didn't fit properly, headgear that was too large, gloves that were too small, and a mouthguard that kept slipping. He continued making provocative statements for the camera throughout setup, insisting that Williams was past his prime and claiming he intended to expose what he believed were staged or exaggerated elements of boxing. Williams began with extremely light contact, essentially shadow boxing with minimal physical engagement. Marcus repeatedly demanded harder hits and questioned the fighter's intensity on camera, accusing him of holding back and making the session look staged. When Williams reluctantly increased his power to approximately 30% intensity, still well below sparring level, Marcus immediately showed signs of panic and disorientation. His footwork deteriorated, and he began swinging wildly without technique or defensive awareness. After taking a solid jab that barely registered as moderate contact by professional standards, Marcus stumbled backward, his ill-fitting mouthguard flying out. The oversized headgear offered little stability and tended to shift with any impact, allowing his head to snap back more than properly fitted equipment would have. Embarrassed and disoriented, he charged forward with his hands down, attempting a wild haymaker. Williams instinctively threw a defensive uppercut, a textbook counter that would barely faze an amateur boxer. Catching Marcus squarely on the chin, Marcus dropped instantly, his head striking the canvas with an audible impact that echoed through the gym. There were no ringside medical personnel on site, and staff had limited training, leaving them unable to provide more than basic first aid while waiting for paramedics. Williams immediately stepped back, his expression shifting from mild annoyance to concern as he realized something was seriously wrong. Marcus's body went completely limp, with no defensive reflexes or attempts to break his fall. Emergency services arrived within 7 minutes, but Marcus never regained consciousness. He was transported to a nearby trauma facility, where neurological tests revealed massive brain swelling. He died 3 days later from traumatic brain injury and cerebral hemorrhaging. The footage was immediately confiscated by police for their investigation into potential manslaughter charges, though Williams was ultimately cleared. Investigators later determined that the session had been fully consensual, and the reviewed footage confirmed the strike was an instinctive defensive reaction rather than intentional harm. Marcus's friend deleted all related content and never filmed again. Williams quit professional boxing following the incident. The gym implemented stricter policies prohibiting any amateur-professional contact. It was March 26, 2016, in a suburban garage in Riverside, California. The clear skies provided excellent natural lighting for filming. Trevor Kowalski, 20, was a community college dropout who posted videos eating unusual food combinations and performing mostly harmless stunts. His most popular video involved eating a sandwich made with breakfast cereal and ranch dressing. After seeing other YouTubers gain millions of views from dangerous challenges, he planned to consume small amounts of household chemicals, claiming he had researched safe quantities online. Trevor had been struggling with depression since dropping out of school and saw viral fame as his only path to success. Trevor lived with his parents, who were unaware of his planned stunt. His sister discovered his handwritten notes detailing the chemical consumption sequence and attempted to dissuade him from the plan, threatening to tell their parents. A chemistry student from his former college left detailed warnings in his announcement video comments, explaining the dangers of mixing household chemicals. Multiple longtime subscribers expressed serious safety concerns, with several threatening to unsubscribe if he proceeded. Trevor dismissed all warnings, insisting he understood the risks and had calculated safe dosages. He had spent hours on obscure forums where people claimed to have safely consumed small amounts of cleaning products. That afternoon, Trevor arranged 8 different cleaning products in his garage: dish soap, window cleaner, toilet bowl cleaner, bleach, ammonia-based floor cleaner, oven cleaner, drain opener, and furniture polish. His friend operated the camera from approximately 10 feet away, positioned near the garage door for quick exit if needed. Trevor started with dish soap, which caused immediate nausea but no serious effects. He then consumed small amounts of window cleaner and toilet bowl cleaner, experiencing increasing stomach pain and dizziness, but continuing with the challenge. The critical error occurred when Trevor decided to mix bleach with ammonia-based floor cleaner in a plastic container, intending to dilute the mixture with water before consumption. The moment the chemicals combined, chloramine gas was immediately produced, a toxic vapor that began rising from the container. Trevor, not understanding the chemical reaction occurring, leaned over the container and inhaled deeply while attempting to drink the mixture. The chloramine gas immediately attacked his respiratory system. Trevor began coughing violently and gasping for air, dropping the container and spilling the mixture across the garage floor. His breathing became increasingly labored as his lungs filled with fluid. He started showing signs of severe respiratory distress, clutching his throat and chest while making desperate wheezing sounds. His friend dropped the camera equipment and called emergency services, but Trevor was already collapsing, his airways severely damaged by the toxic gas. The chemical odor filled the garage, forcing his friend to retreat outside while maintaining the 911 call. Paramedics arrived within 8 minutes, requiring breathing apparatus to enter the contaminated garage. They found Trevor unconscious with blue lips and fingernails, clear signs of oxygen deprivation. Trevor died en route to the hospital from acute respiratory failure and pulmonary edema caused by chloramine gas inhalation, with his lungs essentially drowning in their own fluids. The footage was turned over to investigators and used in the subsequent inquiry into online challenge culture. Trevor's friend required extensive therapy and never filmed content again. The family pursued legal action against the platform regarding dangerous content policies, resulting in updated community guidelines. It was November 17, 2018, in the parking lot of a busy burger restaurant in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The overcast skies provided steady lighting for filming. Brandon Thompson, 25, was a 340-pound former college lineman who posted eating challenge videos. His most successful video involved eating 12 pounds of barbecue in 30 minutes. Recently divorced and living with his parents after losing his construction job, he announced he would break the unofficial record of 32 burgers in 1 hour, despite having no competitive eating training and a documented history of acid reflux and high blood pressure. Brandon had been gaining weight rapidly since his divorce, using food as an emotional coping mechanism. His doctor had recently warned about his blood pressure readings of 180/110 and recommended immediate weight loss. His ex-wife sent concerned messages about his increasingly self-destructive behavior, noting his depression since their divorce. The restaurant manager initially attempted to refuse the large order, citing company policies about excessive purchases, but Brandon's friend convinced him it was for a legitimate video project. Brandon insisted he understood his own limits and capabilities, having successfully completed smaller eating challenges without incident. He had researched competitive eating techniques online but had never practiced proper jaw exercises or stomach expansion methods. That afternoon, Brandon arranged multiple cameras in the parking lot with his friend filming from various angles. He had 50 big burgers spread across several folding tables, with a digital timer prominently displayed, and bottles of water for assistance. The temperature of the food varied significantly, with some burgers cooling to room temperature during setup. Brandon started aggressively, finishing 12 burgers in the first 15 minutes using a technique of removing buns and compressing the meat. His pace was unsustainable, but adrenaline and determination kept him moving. By 20 minutes, he had consumed 18 burgers, but was already showing signs of distress, sweating profusely, breathing heavily, and experiencing visible stomach distension. At 30 minutes, having consumed 25 burgers, he was visibly struggling, with grease and sauce covering his hands and face. The critical moment occurred at burger number 38, approximately 45 minutes into the challenge, with Brandon still facing the main camera as the recording continued uninterrupted. His stomach was severely distended, and his body began rejecting the massive food intake. He began choking on a large piece of meat and bun. Instead of stopping and seeking help, he attempted to wash it down with an entire bottle of soda, causing violent projectile vomiting. The combination of partially digested food mass and stomach acid caused him to aspirate, inhaling vomit into his lungs. Brandon made wet, gurgling sounds that initially seemed like dramatic performance until his lips began turning purple from oxygen deprivation. Food was everywhere, and he clearly couldn't breathe properly, clawing at his throat while his friend frantically called 911. Emergency services arrived within 6 minutes, but Brandon died from asphyxiation and cardiac arrest, caused by extreme overeating and aspiration of vomited food matter. The footage was retained by police during investigation and later provided to his family. The restaurant temporarily closed for cleaning and implemented strict policies against excessive orders. Brandon's friend became an advocate against dangerous eating challenges. It was June 17, 2017, on Highway 95 outside Las Vegas, Nevada. The desert highway stretched endlessly in both directions, with sparse traffic during the late afternoon hours. Kyle Martinez, 22, was an auto parts store employee who posted videos modifying cheap cars with salvaged parts. His most popular video involved installing a cold air intake on a Honda Civic that convinced him that automotive content was his niche. He had spent 3 months and $1,200 installing a homemade turbo kit on his 1998 Honda Civic, using mismatched parts from online auctions and junkyards, ignoring proper tuning and safety protocols to save money. Kyle had dropped out of community college's automotive program after 1 semester, believing he could learn everything from YouTube tutorials. Kyle's mechanical knowledge was limited to basic maintenance and YouTube tutorials. He had never worked with forced induction systems and didn't understand the critical importance of proper tuning, fuel delivery, and engine management. His turbo kit consisted of a Chinese turbocharger, salvaged intercooler, homemade piping, and a basic boost controller, all installed without professional tuning or safety considerations. The installation had taken him multiple weekends, with several components held together by improvised brackets and excessive amounts of silicone sealant. His co-worker at the auto parts store, who had formal automotive training, expressed serious concerns about the boost controller installation and lack of engine management tuning. A local mechanic refused to inspect the modifications after seeing the poor welding quality and mismatched components. Kyle's girlfriend pleaded for him to test it safely at a drag strip or controlled environment rather than on public highways. Kyle insisted his mechanical knowledge was sufficient for highway testing, dismissing concerns as jealousy over his YouTube success. That afternoon, Kyle mounted cameras inside and outside his car, planning to film high-speed runs on a relatively empty highway stretch with his friend following in another vehicle. He chose this location because it offered long sight lines and minimal traffic, but it also meant help was far away if something went wrong. Initial attempts went smoothly. reaching 85 miles per hour with the turbo system functioning adequately at moderate boost levels. The car felt faster than stock, and Kyle was encouraged by the performance gains. Emboldened by success and eager to create dramatic content, he decided to maximize the boost settings to their highest level, approximately 15 psi, on an engine designed for naturally aspirated operation. At 92 miles per hour, the poorly welded intercooler piping separated under pressure, causing a massive boost leak and immediate loss of power. The sudden pressure drop caused the engine to backfire violently through the intake system, creating loud explosions and flames. Kyle panicked when the engine began misfiring violently and producing thick black smoke, jerking the steering wheel while attempting to pull over. The car began weaving erratically as Kyle fought to control it, while the engine continued backfiring, with the onboard cameras still recording. In his panic, he overcorrected the steering, causing the vehicle to launch off the roadway at approximately 75 miles per hour. The car became airborne briefly before impacting the desert floor and rolling multiple times, with each impact crushing the roof progressively lower. Emergency responders arrived within 12 minutes, but Kyle died instantly when the car's roof collapsed during the third roll, causing severe cervical spine fractures and traumatic brain injury. The footage was recovered from multiple cameras and used in the investigation. The highway was closed for 4 hours during evidence collection and vehicle recovery. Kyle's friend quit street racing and became a driving safety instructor. The incident prompted local authorities to increase patrols on that highway section. It was September 12, 2015, in downtown Portland, Oregon. Pioneer Courthouse Square was busy with weekend shoppers and tourists. Jason Williams, 21, was a community college student who posted prank videos. His content typically involved harmless pranks like fake spider scares and whoopee cushion jokes, with his most popular video earning thousands of views for a fake lottery ticket prank on his roommate. Recently fired from his retail job for inappropriate behavior with customers, specifically making crude jokes and filming without permission. He was running out of money and increasingly desperate for viral content. Jason had been struggling academically and saw YouTube success as his only alternative to finishing his degree. Jason had been inspired by other prank channels that gained millions of views from increasingly dangerous and realistic scenarios. He planned to approach strangers with a realistic airsoft pistol, demand their wallet, then reveal the prank while his friend filmed from a distance. The airsoft gun was a detailed replica of a Glock 17, indistinguishable from a real firearm without close inspection. He had purchased the replica online specifically for its realistic appearance, ignoring warnings about using it in public spaces. His usual filming partner, who had worked with him for 8 months, refused to participate in the dangerous stunt after researching similar incidents online. His sister, a criminal justice student, warned him about the current social climate regarding fake weapons and the increasing number of concealed carry permit holders in Oregon. Multiple longtime subscribers left concerned comments on his announcement video, with several threatening to report the channel if he proceeded. Jason dismissed all concerns, believing the fake nature would be obvious once he revealed the cameras and explained the prank. That afternoon, Jason convinced his roommate to film from across the street using a telephoto lens to capture reactions while maintaining distance. The roommate was reluctant but agreed after Jason promised to split any revenue from viral success. They positioned themselves near Pioneer Courthouse Square, where foot traffic was steady but not overwhelming. Jason's first 2 attempts failed when people immediately fled upon seeing the weapon, not giving him time to explain the prank. One woman screamed and ran into traffic, nearly causing an accident. Jason grew frustrated. Wanting better reactions for the camera and more dramatic content, he decided to target someone who appeared calmer and less likely to run. Jason approached a 54-year-old retired police officer who was legally carrying a concealed weapon under Oregon's permit system. The man was walking home from a coffee shop, unaware he was being filmed or targeted for a prank. When Jason suddenly appeared, produced the realistic fake weapon, and demanded for the wallet to be given to him, the retired officer's 25 years of law enforcement training took over. The man immediately recognized a lethal threat and drew his legally carried firearm, firing twice center mass within 3 seconds. Jason began shouting about it being a prank while trying to show the fake gun and point toward the camera, but the officer had already fired, based on the immediate threat assessment. The entire incident lasted approximately 8 seconds from initial contact to shots fired. Emergency services arrived within 4 minutes, but Jason died from 2 gunshot wounds to the chest, causing pneumothorax and exsanguination over several minutes as his lungs filled with blood. The footage was confiscated as evidence in the investigation. The retired officer was cleared of wrongdoing after review, with investigators noting the realistic nature of the weapon and the threatening behavior. The roommate was questioned extensively and released without charges. The incident sparked local debates about prank culture and concealed carry laws. It was July 23, 2016, at an active railway yard in Chicago, Illinois. The Norfolk Southern rail yard sprawled across several acres, with multiple tracks carrying freight trains at various speeds throughout the day. Alex Petrov, 19, was a gymnastics dropout who posted parkour videos. After failing to make his high school gymnastics team due to inconsistent performance and poor attitude, he turned to increasingly dangerous stunts to prove his athletic abilities. His most popular video involved jumping between downtown building rooftops, and this convinced him that extreme risk-taking was his path to YouTube success. He planned to jump between 2 slow-moving freight trains in an active rail yard, hoping to create his breakout viral video. Alex had been obsessed with action movies since childhood and believed he could replicate the stunts he saw on screen. Alex had been practicing parkour for 2 years, but lacked formal training in risk assessment or safety protocols. His understanding of physics and momentum was limited to what he had observed in action movies and other YouTube videos. He had never attempted anything involving moving vehicles or calculated the additional complexity of timing jumps between objects traveling at different speeds. His previous stunts had been performed on stationary objects with predictable distances and surfaces. His parkour mentor, a certified instructor with 10 years of experience, refused to assist with the dangerous stunt after Alex described his plan. The instructor explained the impossibility of accurately judging distances and timing with moving trains, but Alex dismissed the concerns as cowardice. Railroad security had previously chased him away from the property twice in the past month, issuing trespassing warnings and threatening arrest. His girlfriend of 6 months threatened to end their relationship over his increasingly reckless behavior. Alex insisted he had calculated the distances and could easily make the jumps. That morning, Alex snuck into the rail yard at dawn with his friend filming from a nearby overpass using a telephoto lens. They had scouted the location for weeks, identifying a section where 2 parallel tracks regularly carried slow-moving freight trains. The trains typically moved at 12 to 18 miles per hour through this section, with gaps between cars varying from 8 to 15 feet, depending on the train configuration. 2 freight trains were moving parallel at approximately 15 miles per hour, with a 12-foot gap, within Alex's calculated jumping ability based on his static practice sessions. Alex successfully jumped onto the first moving train, landing on a flatbed car and celebrating for the camera. The initial success boosted his confidence, and he began taunting his critics through the camera while preparing for the more difficult jump to the second train. The critical error occurred as Alex prepared for the second jump. As he leaped, the second train hit a slight curve in the track, widening the gap by crucial inches, from 12 feet to approximately 14.5 feet. The curve also changed the angle of approach, requiring Alex to adjust his trajectory mid-flight. He caught the edge of a freight car with his fingertips, but couldn't generate enough upward momentum to pull himself up. Alex hung from the train car for approximately 5 seconds, attempting to swing his legs up while the train continued moving. His friend captured the entire sequence, showing Alex's desperate attempts to climb up before his grip strength failed. When his grip failed, he fell directly between the moving cars onto the tracks. Emergency services arrived within 8 minutes, but Alex was killed instantly when he fell between the train cars, suffering massive crushing trauma to his torso and head from the train wheels. The footage was seized by railroad police and used in their investigation. Alex's friend was arrested for criminal trespassing and required extensive therapy to cope with witnessing the death. The rail yard increased security measures and installed additional warning signs. The incident led to stricter enforcement of trespassing laws at active rail facilities. Thanks for watching. Want to watch more? Click on your screen now.